Alpha camera speed. Initiate X4 rotation. Have visual on subject. Short reach initiate. Subject approaching specimen. Yoink! This is the new Insta360X. Where are you going? X4. It's the what just happened? This is the new Insta360 X4. It's the latest 360 camera from the company, and I've had it for a little over a month now. And I recently brought it with me on a creator trip to the Maldives, headed up by my good friend Will Carmack. I brought a bunch of gear with me on that trip, maybe too much, and I ended up using the X4 probably 90% of the time. Actually, I would say almost 100% of the time that I wasn't using a drone, I was using the X4. And sometimes, even if I was using a drone, I was using the X4. More on that later. By now, I've put a lot of hours on the camera, above water, underwater, and in the air, and I really do love using it. In this video, I'll go through 10 unique ways that I like to use the camera, as well as sprinkle in some of my thoughts on what makes this camera my favorite piece of gear this year so far. On this trip to the Maldives, we were rigging the camera to everything using this motorcycle mount clamp. The thing is super strong, and if you use it properly, you can put the camera through the ringer and it won't budge. We mounted it on these go-karts and then ripped around on what was basically an off-road track. It was super bumpy, but the mount didn't come loose. If you pair it with their carbon fiber invisible selfie stick, it's super rigid and makes for some really neat shots. I have a specific shot I'm trying to dial in with the X4 on my FPV drone. If I can get it to work, you'll be seeing that sometime in the very near future. But I actually just love mounting the X4 on my freestyle quad and then doing these like reverse POV shots of the drone flying around and through tight places. I don't know, how else are you gonna get a shot like this? If you don't have a drone, you can toss the selfie stick and use the reframe paired with the super slow motion capabilities of the X4 to do these drone-like shots of people jumping into the ocean. Of course, make sure there's a soft landing for the camera, like water, or you can also use these new removable lens guards that are a big improvement from the ones that you use on the X3. The camera comes with the plastic version that you see here. They also have an option for a higher quality one that you can order separately if you know you're going to be putting the X4 in harm's way often. In addition to the highly improved removable lens guards that the X4 has, some of the other improvements the X4 has over the X3 are higher frame rates. It now does up to 60 frames per second in 5.7K and 100 frames per second in 4K, and for things like action sports, it'll be very useful to have those extra frames and slow things down. 8K resolution, which means your reframe shots will be higher resolution and sharper. It turns on and starts recording quite a bit faster than the X3. And that's a big thing for me because it means I'm less likely to miss a shot. And longer battery life over the X3, and that's great for a lot of obvious reasons, but one situation where that was particularly useful for me was when I was using the camera in the underwater dive case, because the last thing you want to worry about when you're underwater is how long your battery is going to last. The invisible dive case paired with the X4 is the best way to shoot underwater, hands down. If you have a trip coming up where you're going to be doing any sort of snorkeling or free diving or scuba diving or just going somewhere with crystal clear, beautiful water, you won't be disappointed with the ease, flexibility, and quality you'll get with this combo. I brought an underwater housing for my FX3 that I was planning to use a lot more, but it's so much more cumbersome and difficult to use compared to the X4 and dive case that I barely touched it. Being able to just swim around and focus on not drowning, but also taking in your surroundings instead of looking at the screen of your camera and trying to frame up a shot is incredibly freeing. It also means you can get shots like this that aren't even possible with a traditional dive housing. I honestly can't speak highly enough of this setup, and this combo alone is worth the price of the camera if you do this sort of underwater stuff often. On this trip, there were 8 other creators who had different filmmaking backgrounds and skill sets, and what was really cool about the X4 was being able to just hand it off to anyone, regardless of their technical ability or filmmaking background, and they could instantly wrap their heads around how to use the camera. In full auto mode, the camera does a great job of doing everything for you and nailing it, but also having the ability to switch to manual when that's what you need is useful if you want to dial things in how you want them. As a filmmaker who uses traditional cameras for my day job, one of the fun ways I like to incorporate 360 cameras into my workflow is as a behind-the-scenes camera. You can rig the X4 to pretty much anything, whether it's a dolly or a crane or your underwater housing, and get these cool POV shots of what you're doing, and then reframe the shot however you want after the fact. I love using them for this kind of stuff. Shooting a hyperlapse with the X4 couldn't be easier. You just hold the camera and walk in a straight line. The stabilization comes out super smooth, and then unlike traditional cameras, you can keyframe some cool movement to the shot after the fact. This is a feature that's baked right into the camera. You just select Starlapse mode, position the camera, and hit record. I do recommend using a battery bank so that the camera lasts throughout the night. Once you've shot it, you open the Insta360 Studio app on your phone and you can process the Starlapse and choose whether you want a traditional time-lapse or one with star trails. The app does the rest and spits it out right onto your camera roll. Weird selfies. This one doesn't even need an explanation. One of my favorite things to do using the invisible selfie stick is get creative with how the camera flies through openings and things and then reframing the shot after, like this motorcycle shot I did at NAB. So those are 10 fun ways that anyone can use the Insta360 X4. For now though, thanks for watching. See you next time.